Hi, welcome to Anaprime Recap. You are a hero with extraordinary strength who saves the planet from a terrible demonic invasion, but no one knows your real identity and therefore you become an ordinary, unemployed young man in the crowd. We are in the anime, Hero Return. Episodes 1 to 4. In the year 2093, humanity was suffering under an immense and overwhelming demonic rule. Hordes of demons were attacking from heaven and earth, bringing a scenario of destruction to all humans, who did not know how to defend themselves, leaving only the option of running for their lives. The crime rate increased considerably. Criminals took advantage of the world chaos to start robbing and eliminating whenever they wanted. After all the government's attention was focused on the dreaded demonic creatures. But this collapse came to an end in the year 2095, when an unknown man took charge of the battle, fighting and eliminating all the demons that brought this chaos. He carried only a sword and incredible skill, and single-handedly defeated the entire horde, including the commander of the demon army, removing his head with a single blow. Since then, the world nation gave him the title of hero, and through his incredible acts of heroism, he served as an inspiration for many people to follow the same path, forming a legion of heroes who fought crimes and sought world peace. In the year 2100, near the beginning of the 22nd century, humanity had already achieved peace again, drastically reducing the crime rate. Hero Zero, who had this name because no one knew his identity, mysteriously disappeared, leaving everyone puzzled. However, because he was admired and loved by everyone, he ended up getting movies and series that were acclaimed by the entire population. One day, while walking through the busy streets of his town, a young man comes across a large crowd. He goes to the place and realizes that a live concert is being held by a young man who is admired by all, being a member of the renowned Shishin family. Occupying the position of the band's vocalist, the member announces that the performance is a celebration of his new rank classification, making him a B-class hero. However, the show is interrupted by a shot fired in the young man's direction, who incredibly dodges the projectile. A guy and his gang make all the people who were there flee in despair. He claims to be from the criminal faction called Black Hand, which had as its rival anyone who called himself a hero. The enemy group is classified as a level C threat. The band members then prepare for the counterattack. The drummer shoots his drumsticks wrapped in his energy towards his opponents. The objects go back and forth like a boomerang, hitting them both with a strong impact. One of the musicians manages to easily dodge all the attacks that are directed at him, using his incredible sonic speed. He attacks 3 enemies at the same time with blows so fast that none of them could see them. The young musician gets ready to fight the gang leader and with just one punch manages to knock the guy out. Then the young man, who was passing by earlier, ends up arresting the criminal with a handcuff, telling him that he should stay put on the spot until the police arrive. At this point, the man becomes angry because this was not part of the deal they had made. In a brief flashback, we learn that the musician in the band paid for these guys to come to his show and get beaten on purpose, just to promote his own image. Furious at having been handcuffed and running the risk of being arrested, the criminal is overcome with rage and quickly demonstrates his true form, leaving his large muscles showing. Outraged by the situation, he throws a strong punch in the face of the young man who hired him. The young man is thrown far away and faints when he collides with a truck. The band members try to fight the guy, but are defeated in a few seconds, at which point a new figure appears to defeat the young man. His name is Zon Chen, an E-class hero. The young man says that he has handcuffed the criminal and that they should not worry because he would take care of the whole situation. Using his laser gloves capable of knocking out an elephant, he positions them to unleash his powerful attack, but as he triggers them, the hero is thrown backwards by the strong impact of his equipment, and falls face first into the ground. But with his strong determination, he gets up even though injured and runs towards the villain, ready to punch him, and again fails, taking a powerful blow that makes him fall into a bucket of garbage. Zon Chen doesn't give up and keeps trying to attack him with his electric baton, automatic tracking grenades and perspective glasses. However, he fails miserably in all his attempts. In the end, he tells the young man next to him that he will protect him. After all, this is a hero's duty. At that moment, the young man, tired of seeing that scene, runs toward the criminal and quickly arms himself with a huge iron club and, using only one blow, hits the opponent, who is thrown to the ground, being defeated at that very instant. Zon Chen, seeing the young man's strength, asks him if he would be willing to form a duo, so that he could use his incredible equipment together with the young man's strength. Hearing the proposal, the young man wonders if this would really be worth it. A short time later, a limousine stops at the scene and out of it comes a woman who watches intently what has happened there. Zon Chen recognizes her, being the superheroine who occupies rank 3 in H-Town, known as Miss Handong Manu. She asks the young man what happened there and he answers that the Black Hand criminals tried to attack some people, and through his skills and high-tech equipment, he defeated them quickly. However, he needed the help of his assistant, at which point they both realized that the mysterious young man was no longer there and had disappeared. Upon returning to his home, the young man realizes that his sister is arguing with an important CEO of a large company. She orders the man to leave her residence because she has just found out that he was offering her a job opening only because he was interested in her. Her brother questions why she didn't accept the job offer, but the girl says she doesn't like the CEO and the only one who has a space in her heart is Hero Zero. In this instant, the young man is embarrassed by those words. After all, he is the hero who saved all of humanity some years ago, but nobody knows this, being today only a young man who is unemployed in search of a job. His sister confronts him by asking if he has ever gotten a job, and when she finds out that he hasn't, she freaks out at the answer, saying that he doesn't help around the house, has a messy room, and is a complete slacker. After this long moral lesson, Zhan Chen enters the house of the young man, who doesn't understand how this guy managed to find him. The hero explains that he wants to have him as an assistant and would receive a salary with some bonuses. His sister is happy with that proposal and accepts everything on behalf of her brother. Meanwhile, the young man was still trying to reason what was happening in his house. The next day, the two head to the Heroes Association, a place where they could register to fight alongside Zhan Chen. In the hall, the young man notices a giant statue honoring the warriors, and next to Zero were some SS-level heroes. The young man is unhappy about this. After all, in his days of battle no one has ever been there for him. They then head to the physical examination room to test their skills with the examiner Yatin, a powerful B-level fighter. The protagonist says he wants to challenge him, but is warned by the instructor and his new partner that this is not a good idea. Even so, the young man walks slowly towards the examiner, who, seeing the young man's attitude, decides to teach the arrogant young man a lesson. And so an exchange of fierce blows begins between the powerful club and Yatin's hands, which were able to transform into extremely sharp blades. The young man dodges a few blows and carries out a few attacks at the same time, but still without showing all his strength. The hero realizes that the young man is holding back and observing this, uses more of his great power, cutting and firing several boulders in the direction of his opponent. The young man defends himself from all of them. Yatin then moves forward to attack him using several quick blows. However, the young man stops his attacks only with his leg, and then finishes the fight by kneeing him in the face, knocking the gigantic hero unconscious. The instructor and his partner are speechless with all the show. The woman says that his physical exam has been successfully completed. Now only the written test remains. The young man, upon hearing this, despairs when he learns that he will have to take a written test. In the association's infirmary, Yatin wakes up after his hard battle with Lin Jia, the new hero candidate who has left him traumatized. The heroine Handong Manu is by his side and informs him that that candidate is so strong that his level should probably be A. However, when shown the young man's written test, the man is impressed, for incredibly he got the vast majority of the questions wrong, stating in one of his answers that he did not wish to be a hero. In a large hall, all the candidates are waiting for their scores, and when the result is finally announced, Zhan Chen bursts into laughter when he learns that his colleague got a measly 13 points, this being an extremely low score. Lin Jia doesn't seem to care much about the outcome, and as the two were leaving the scene, they realize that some heroes are threatening a candidate who criticized their ideas of justice and power. The trio of big guys is known as the Golden Triangle, a D-level group. One of them claims that Zero was eliminated, and it was because of his sense of justice that he was defeated at some point. The two young men, hearing this, become angry. Zhan Chen cannot contain his anger, and advances toward the man, throwing a punch. But his blow is defended with only one hand from the big man. Lin Jia at this point intervenes and asks everyone to stop it, yet the group still continues to provoke the fight, but stops immediately when another hero approaches the scene. Shinsan, ranked level E, he gets the group up and running in a few seconds. The hero introduces himself to the candidates, and right there they end up having a little chat. Shinsan is amazed at those young people for talking to him. After all, he says he doesn't have any friends because everyone always keeps their distance and runs away from him. The hero claims that he carries with him the nickname of the Unlucky Ghost, with which he cursed anyone who came near him. He tells a bit about his terrible past, where he ended up living in several orphanages, being adopted and returned numerous times. Until the moment he started living on the street, and during the demon's attack, he was saved by Zero. Lin Jia reflects that this must be why he hasn't got a job until now. After all, he must have been cursed by the young man. The protagonist asks him if he doesn't want to be part of his group, so that he would have friends and no longer feel alone. The hero is happy to hear that. It would be the first time he would be part of a team. However, with his excitement, he ends up punching one of the pillars of the building. The structure begins to crack and everything collapses, causing enormous damage to the association. People start running and Lin Jia, realizing that a little girl was in danger, kicks the hero's statue that was about to fall on top of her. Zhan Chen notices that the hero candidate, Yan Qing, was buried by the debris and quickly takes him on his way to the hospital. The young man is now in a recovery capsule. Shisan goes there to apologize for what happened, but the young man is furious with him. The protagonist asks Zhan Chen to forgive the young man. After all, they would be a team from that moment on. The unlucky ghost says it's okay if they no longer want to form a group with him, but Lin Jia says he won't go back on his word. A few days after the terrible incident, the quartet of heroes is watching from the top of a building, a criminal action that is going on nearby. The group of friends is still adjusting to their new formation. While Shisan and Yan Qing are struggling with the mission, Lin Jia and Zhan Chen are enjoying the day eating snacks. The criminals manage to create a giant monster made of an unknown substance, but are surprised by the group of friends. The gang says they will not surrender and begin firing a burst of projectiles in the direction of the youngsters. Yan Qing easily dodges all the shots, gets closer and closer to the criminals, and manages to get all their weapons. Meanwhile, Shisan is shooting at the enemies. The group commander asks the monster to carry out an attack, and now only the weapons will not be enough to stop the creature. As the monster approaches Lin Jia, it is struck with just one blow from his incredible club, which hurls it far away. The creature falls into the commercial center of the city. And it even tries to capture some civilians, but is quickly stopped by the protagonist who arrives on the scene. Zhan Chen also approaches, and panting from having run all that distance, declares to his friend that he has the solution to that problem, being the water purifier 2000, capable of cleaning any residue or impurity from the water. The hero uses his high propulsion shoes and with that is thrown into the monster, failing miserably in his first attack. When he is finally taken out of there, he tries once again a new attack. He dodges the several tentacles that the creature creates to stop him, but with his purifier, he cuts them off with ease, ending definitively with the giant goo. Everyone in the town applauds that heroic attitude, but is then shocked to find the young man on top of a little girl. After the battle, they return to the house of one of the members, bringing the little girl with them. Zhan Chen wonders why he got so few points for his act of heroism. After all, he defeated the monster and even wiped out an entire gang of criminals. Yan Qin replies that the young man himself was responsible for the decrease in points, because people ended up denouncing his inconsistent attitude toward the little girl, thus he ended up being frowned upon by the citizens. At this point, the group receives a visit from the heroine Handong Manu, who wants to clarify some things about the battle that day. She tells the heroes that a long time ago several orphanages were established to house needy children and a criminal group was using them as a base for their experiments, that the little girl who was rescued was part of the giant monster. However, with her research, she discovered that some heroes were part of this organization and the main suspect behind it all was the president of the Heroes Association, Yang Rui. The next day, Lin Jia asks her sister to help him buy some clothes for the little girl he had rescued. The girl becomes enraged thinking that her brother is a madman who kidnapped the young girl and finds the situation embarrassing, but in the end, his friends explain everything that happened, telling her that the girl was an orphan and had no relatives. Knowing part of the story, the girl agrees to help him, then she asks if they won't accompany her shopping, but her brother answers that it's better if he waits outside the store. So, they enter the store, and at that moment the trio of friends is surprised by the Golden Triangle group. Lin Jia remembered what Handong Manu had commented on the day of her visit. She explained that the little girl had served as a human experiment and unbelievably her body had withstood the transformation, so the secret association would send people to capture her again. After all, she had been a successful experiment and was valuable. In a secluded alleyway, the trio of friends are confronted by the rival group of heroes. They threaten to take the girl back and bring her back to where she belongs, but before that they would finish off the fledgling wimps. The fight breaks out, but is over in seconds with the D-level opponents being easily defeated. The friends return to the store and meet up again with Lin Jia's sister. She begs them to let the little girl live with them, since she has no family and is not in any orphanage. After much insistence, the protagonist agrees and everyone returns to their homes. Later that night, a woman breaks into Zhan Chen's house in search of clues about the whereabouts of the missing girl. She notices a silhouette in a room and attacks it without thinking. However, it was only a doll. While observing the scene, she notices that there are several heads with a device in their mouths. Zhan Chen hears the noise and turns on all the lights to see what was going on in his house. The woman understands that he might be someone dangerous and uses the bizarre device she found against the young man. But it was only a toothbrush. Those heads in his room were serving as tests for his prototype. He claims to be just a creator of utensils that can make anyone's life easier, but she doesn't believe him, using another of the gadgets in his room against him. The spy ends up triggering a body-cleansing energy stick, causing the young man to strip off his clothes in front of her. The woman is embarrassed and decides to flee after this terrible and catastrophic investigation. A criminal is sent to Lin Jia's house to capture the little girl. The young man, noticing the strange presence, surprises the enemy by appearing behind his back. The two begin a battle in the forest, but the protagonist still has the advantage in combat, causing his opponent to inject something into himself. That was part of the association's experiments, and through that compound his strength rose to the equivalent of an S-class hero. Blows are exchanged with great speed and force, but the young man ends up cutting one of the monster's arms with his club, leaving him vulnerable, finished with a powerful blow that throws him far away. Lin Jia thought about letting the creature get away to come back and tell his boss everything. However, the monster says he won't stop his hunt until he captures the little girl and takes her back to the experiments. After all, for the association, she is a precious guinea pig. The young man, hearing these words, rages, eliminating the hunter without mercy, destroying half the mountain with the force of his attack. He returns home and wonders how many more hunters will be sent after the little girl. Will Lin Jia continue to hide his true identity? What dangers await the quartet as they try to hide the little girl from this secret organization? So, what did you think of this anime? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like it and subscribe for more anime recaps. See you next time.